Welcome to the Car Guys. Well, I'm back in the Volkswagen Phaeton for an extended road test. This was obviously the car that didn't make it to Portugal, but it's still utterly awesome. Now it's time for me to put some serious miles on this car and let's find out what it's all about. Welcome to this 2004 Volkswagen Phaeton 5-litre V10 Diesel. You will recognise this car as the challenge car to Portugal that Jason didn't take, and so therefore it's been left with me to enjoy in his absence. And I'm going for a long journey to meet up with car friend Tom. He's also bought a Phaeton. He was so impressed with this car during the search for the Portugal road trip car that he's actually gone out and bought one as well. And we're going to directly compare the two cars, drive them back to back and just see what an additional 80,000 miles is like on the car itself, and also what's it like having the smaller engined Phaeton. So I'm going to set the comfort setting of the suspension to comfortable, adjust the seats so that I get just the right amount of cooling, just so, and I'm going to waft my way along the motorway. So what can I tell you about this amazing car? It's very understated. No one will ever give this a second glance. Everyone will think it's a Passat. Everyone will think you're safe and practical and a bit boring. Unlike the RS6 with its big shouty body kit and its bright blue colour and its fins and bulges, no one will be jealous of it. It just goes about its business and it does what it does very, very well. This is the definition of the Q car, something that can go extremely quickly, is very, very highly engineered, but yet no one will even notice it. Phaetons were made from 2003 until, unbelievably, 2016. This was a big flop in America. In fact, it wasn't a resounding success anywhere except Asia. The Phaeton shared its platform with the Bentley Flying Spur. Famously, the Phaeton was manufactured in a purpose-built transparent factory in Dresden. The driving force behind the car was the Volkswagen chairman Ferdinand Piech. He was extremely keen to create a luxury Volkswagen, something that would outperform Mercedes and Jaguar and BMW. He was very famous for being a hard-nosed boss, someone who would fire you if you made the same mistake twice. But as with many perfectionist leaders, that did also lead to some moments of greatness from Volkswagen. Piech, for example, was responsible for the Bugatti Veyron. It is still the car by which many others are judged. They set about a list of requirements that were so difficult to achieve that many of the team stopped working on the project. But they persevered. They spent about £1.3 billion, and Volkswagen created a car that really did give Mercedes and its S-Class a run for its money. Even the Audi A8 was quaking in its boots, and remember, that's from the same group. It was an enormous financial gamble which didn't really pay off until later on in its life. But as a result, here and now, you can be part of the VW Phaeton story for less than £5,000. It is the steal of the century. I love interesting cars. I love stuff that's got a bit of character. I love things that have got a bit of story to them. And I love Concorde moments. Now this is the V10 Diesel, and I'd forgotten actually that this same engine went into not only the Touareg, the 4x4 that Volkswagen did, but also this was the engine that was in the Audi A8 that Jeremy Clarkson famously drove from London to Edinburgh and back on one tank of fuel. Now I highly doubt that you can achieve that feat in a car like this that weighs over 2.5 tons, but it's still pretty cool that this engine is in this car, so you're going to get better fuel economy, probably 35 miles to the gallon, no problem, which for an enormous luxury saloon like this is pretty good. There's a lot to like about this car. It's got a chestnut interior. This was later changed to, I think, eucalyptus as the standard would for the later Phaetons. It's got a 6-speed automatic transmission, which has a sport mode. So you press the button on this huge sort of control arm that you select the gears with. It's like the sort of thing you'd find on a battleship or a starship. It's the sort of thing you expect in a car that's got 750 Newton meters of torque. It's limited to 155 miles an hour, but Jeremy Clarkson once famously said that he'd got it one up to 201 miles an hour, and I can totally believe it. This is probably one of the most solid cars at speed that I've ever been in. It makes the 750 feel like a wispy piece of crap, which I never thought would happen. It is rock solid. It's permanent four-wheel drive, so obviously that helps, and it weighs a lot, so that helps as well. If you wanted to do long distances, if the roads were predominantly motorway roads or auto routes or autostradas or autobahns, this is the vehicle for it, because it will just fly along in absolute silence. I could literally whisper and you'd still hear me. And you'll arrive at your destination refreshed, thanks to the massage seats. In fact, Jason spotted that. I hadn't even noticed it when I bought the car, but he went, "I'll tell you what, mate, it's got massage seats." Not a good impression. Oh, rolling undulations in the small of your back. Occupants are cooled using 4-zone climate control, so everyone can individually set the temperature that suits them. The ride is sublime. Remember, this is air suspension. You'd expect it to be smooth, and it is, just like a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce. This 5-litre V10 diesel gives you a surge of torque when you put your foot down. It's like riding a tsunami. Oh, and you get quite a nice NASCAR-y rumble as well, which is good. Liking that. You put your foot down and 6 seconds later you're doing 60. Before you know it, you're doing 155 on an autobahn, obviously. Oh, there we go, there we go. Oh, look at that. It's a quick car. It doesn't snap your head back like a supercar, but you just get forced into your seat like in a 747 on takeoff. The V10 Diesel Phaeton has 308 brake horsepower and a quite colossal 750 Newton meters of torque, which in old pounds feet is 553. So this thing will make a good caravan car, but it is good for tearing apart planets. Weighs just over 2,500 kilograms, so that's probably why it feels so planted on the road, is because it's so flipping heavy. If you're a current subscriber to the channel, thank you very much for supporting us. If you like the content and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so now. It makes a big difference to us. We've been growing all the time, but it really does give us a morale boost to push on and make even better videos. So please do subscribe, and whilst you're at it, click that notification bell and leave some comments and likes, because we love the feedback, we honestly do. Since I'm stuck in a good old British traffic jam, let's talk about what I like about this car. I love the luxury, the way that the ventilation vents are revealed behind slabs of chestnut that move up when you start the car. The analog clock, I like the way that the clock has a cutout piece in the dash, so when it moves up you can still see the clock. The parking sensors and the way that the lights are in the far corners of the dashboard and they gradually increase to show that you're getting closer to an object. And the same when you look in the rear view mirror, it does the same in the back. This huge speaker that's at the front of the car that contributes to one of the best stereos. I love the seats, the 18-way adjustable seats that have got massage functions. It's got a dark setting as well on the dash, so when you're traveling at night, very much like a Saab, you can press that button and it turns off all of the sort of glaring center console display. I love the fact that the seats are not only heated but also cooled. The dials, very clear and quite classy. If you look at a Bentley Continental of the same vintage, you'll notice that it's identical. And just to remind you what car you're driving, it says Phaeton on a little plaque just in front of you. And what I don't like about the VW Phaeton, it's got to be the looks, isn't it? Looks is number one. There's not really any flair at all to the outside. You could sort of persuade yourself that it's a bit elegant and a bit timeless. That's about as much as you could get out of the design of this car. I'm not sure about the combination of the chestnut and the grey interior and the grey plastics. That's a bit Lexusy and it's a bit 90s. They've thought of everything, these Phaeton engineers. They've looked at every single function of a car and they've asked the same question: how can we make it better? And then they did. The sort of central computer and entertainment system is something to behold. Nowadays it looks incredibly clunky and a bit Commodore 64, but back in 2003 this must have been like the space shuttle. There's so many features. You've obviously got detailed air conditioning and climate control. In auto mode you can ask it to set the car to exactly the right temperature and it will maintain it automatically without you ever needing to touch it. You've got a phone. It's an old Nokia. If you can find a SIM for that, then obviously you can make phone calls. The navigation does still work. It's a little bit basic, but it's perfectly fine even now. One of the things that isn't working on this car is the tyre pressure monitor system. One of the interesting things about that is it monitors the spare wheel as well. Never seen that ever on a car. There's nothing more satisfying than sitting in a car watching television. Trust me on that one. Now you have to remember this is a big car. It's 2.5 tons, it's 2 meters wide, it's 5 meters long. So you're not going to be able to hustle it through the corners like a hot hatch. Yes, you've got sports suspension, you can firm that up, you've got sports gear changes, you can quicken that up, but this is in no way a sports saloon, and if you try and hustle it into anything, it's like trying to power slide St Paul's Cathedral. It's just not going to be happy doing that. Treat it with a bit of respect and just relax back into these luxurious seats and enjoy the view. That's how you drive a Phaeton, not like your pants are on fire. Car friend Tom has arrived with his V6 Diesel Phaeton. His has done 147,000 miles versus my 67,000 miles, so we thought it'd be interesting to compare the two.
This is my 2006 V6 Diesel 3 litre. Basically, I wanted a big car to cruise around summer with, take the family along, and we can get all the luggage in and relative comfort, and the wife goes to sleep really easy in something that's comfortable. So here it is.
So let's have a look through both cars and see what the differences are. A secret way of opening the rear of your VW Phaeton is the special button that's in the Volkswagen logo. Not many people know about it, but here it is. The boots of both cars open electronically, but only this car closes electronically.
You have to physically lift up the boot, and then you have to physically...
Oh, that's sad. Inside there's not a lot of difference, except his is in a quite disgusting Larry Grayson grey trouser material. Control wise, options wise, is pretty similar. The biggest difference between the two cars really is how they've been kept over the years. So Tom's dark blue car is scratched all over, so the outside is quite faded generally. One of the front body panels looks like it's had some damage and been repaired quite badly. There's lots of scratches on it, particularly around the doors, where someone with either big rings or bracelets or a watch or a bunch of keys has repeatedly scraped it trying to get in. So immediately this 3 litre diesel feels a lot lighter on its feet than the 5 litre V10. The controls seem lighter, strangely. The steering feels lighter. Yeah, doesn't like corners, does it, this one? Biggest indicator of the mileage is the condition of the bodywork. So your one is shocking.
Yeah, mine's definitely been following the Yellow Submarine up the Mersey.
It's been abused for a large part of its life.
Yes, but it's only 2 owners, and I think that's what makes it feel...
Yeah, but one of them was Robert Mugabe. Oh, yeah. I think I've just found the big difference.
What?
Well, yeah, when you accelerate in this car, nothing happens. Nothing. There was a noise, a sort of weedy noise. When you want to get on it, this thing really has no power whatsoever. I mean, we were foot to the floor then, and nothing was happening. As you said, a whisk, pushing a speedboat. It's okay once you're up at speed, and it's okay at low speed, but when you need to motor, when you put your foot down, you can feel this huge surge of power from the V10, whereas this one can't compete. It's a lot less, and it's noticeable. I was expecting this to feel tired. I was expecting it to feel loose as hell, and actually it still feels tight. So they still They really did engineer the shit out of these cars, and even with that excessive mileage, this still feels pretty good. Quick word about the unspoken side of Phaeton ownership, and that's not just depreciation, that is ongoing maintenance. Now, it's no secret that Volkswagen dealers had to have a specially trained Phaeton technician in their service department, and actually not all dealers have them. So the first thing you got to do if you own one of these things is find a dealer close by that's actually authorized to work on them, and then make that person your very best friend, because you're going to need him. They're coming up to 15 years old, and that's 15 years old plus loads of electrical plus complexity equals potential big bills. So you've got to make sure that you don't get caught out by that. Make sure you buy a good one to start with, make sure it's fully serviced, main dealer authorized, as this one is. Because they are so highly engineered, the chances of things going wrong is obviously a lot less, but when they do, yeah, it could be a bit of a problem. Don't spend all your money buying one and then have no money in case something goes wrong. I'd hate to think how much a headlight washer is on one of these, for example. But apart from that, there's not a huge downside of ownership. All the depreciation has happened, and some other poor sod has already swallowed that. So you just have to worry about ongoing maintenance. Everything else should be fine, and let's face it, you're getting a super luxury limousine, a Bentley with a different badge, and you're paying pennies for it. He might have been a bit bonkers, Ferdinand Piech, but he did at least inspire his engineers to create something wonderful. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at the Volkswagen Phaeton. A very unusual but a very beguiling car that's got an interesting story behind it, and ultimately is incredibly good value for money at the moment. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know in the comments if you want to buy it, and I'll see you soon for another video.